What is going on, Go Squad? Today is Tuesday, January 2nd, 2018. Welcome to Tactical Tuesday on a great day. Today is Every Second Matters for January 2018. So we're glad to have everybody. Let's kind of check in and see who we got out there. We had some crazies out there once again, like an hour or two ahead of time. So go figure. Let's see. Patriots in there. Grim is in here as well. D-Temp. Rich White, the 1%. I did my stepmom. Awesome name. I love that. Travis Gray. I'm not sure. Is Travis Gray like the fourth or what? I don't really.
I think he is Travi the fourth.
He is Travi the fourth. Never enough Travi. Let's see here. Big Racers in the hizzy. Let's see here. Locks, Rocks, and What's Not. Triple D. D-Temp. Car Carrier. Tar Dot. What's going on, my man? Travis T. Midnight Range TM. What's up, man? Let's see here. On the gun channel side, we've got the Pants, Knives, Cycle Camp. Travis is great working double duty. General Relativity, Dano, Clover. Clove, I know you've got a link. I know you said you're going to be a little bit late, but come on in when you feel like it. All right, guys, so we are live on YouTube, as you well know. We are simulcasting on GunChannels.com. By now, I'm sure most people have an idea of what Gun Channels is from all of the chats that you're in. If you're new, welcome. Gun Channels is a great community to talk about guns and the Second Amendment. GunChannels.com is free to join, so we have a if you're over there, come check us out. It's a 24-hour live lobby chat if you want to jump in those. If you have any questions about the gun community, being an activist or an advocate or just guns in general, got any questions, there are a lot of people there with a lot of great minds that will help you out in any way possible. Let's go through the panel right now. We got a couple guys that are going to be a little bit late, but we will start out this way. We're going to start out with the all right, so Travis T is the other Travis, or Travi the third. Travis Greatest, Travi the fourth. Hell, I at this point I give up.
I've been keeping count because the first Travis was P11, the second was Midnight Range TM.
Yeah, I knew, and that's as far as I get. And the other Travi, I love them all. I just don't know if they're third, fourth. It really doesn't matter to me because they're all great. But I think that there's a little bit of competition out there. Just saying, I don't know.
Well, I've heard one or two more have popped up, so I'm gonna tell you guys, you've been breaking the rule. Don't feed them after midnight.
That's right. Or put water on them or anything like that. They do multiply quickly. All right, well let's take a quick shot through the room. The Reaper from Illinois, Grim 90. What's up, my man?
How's it going? Thanks for the invite, and everybody, every second matters. Hopefully you did a little something today, even if it's, I know somebody had been talking about, even if it's wearing a t-shirt. Stay involved.
That's right. I got my my little patch on right here. I did a video today at my local gun shop and did all that stuff, and it was a good time spending with those guys. Let's see, from the Sunshine State of Florida. Is it the Sunshine State, isn't it? Tack?
It's crappy today. It's rainy. It's windy. But yes.
It's probably about 70 degrees, isn't it?
Thanks for the invite, dude. It's actually cold. It's supposed to go to 37 on Thursday.
Oh, man. There's going to be a lot of fruit that don't make it through that, I don't think.
Frozen iguanas.
There you go. There you go. South Carolina inhabitant number 1, he who strikes at night. Night Strike. What's up, man?
Not much. Not much. It was 20 degrees here today, and then it got up to 36. And I'm like, I've never been gladder that it had gotten raised 10 degrees.
Yeah, it was 28 here was the high. It was supposed to get down to like 12 tonight. So
oh god,
it was nice and sunny, but it's still just
sunny here too. So that's
yeah.
Good.
The other inhabitant of South Carolina, the outlaw himself, Ellis. What's going on, Ellis? How you doing?
Yeah, pretty good. And the temperature right now is 27 degrees.
Again.
This is South Carolina. This isn't supposed to be happening.
I know. The problem is it raises and then lowers and raises and lowers. It's ridiculous.
The pamphlet never said anything about cold freaking weather.
No, it didn't. It didn't. I agree.
You've got mail. And Night Strike, you've got freaking mail again.
Got mail.
I still can't believe you sat through 2 hours of that.
From the great state of the Pacific Northwest in Washington, we got two Hottie. What's up, Hottie?
Hey guys, what up, Trey? Thanks for the invite.
What up,
man.
yo?
Doing good. Just got done listening to a good Every Second Matters chat. Just kind of hanging out, man.
Right on.
Hope everyone's doing.
Cycle Camp wants to know GunChannels. What is that? He's on the GunChannel side saying that, by the way. So I just want to throw that out there.
GunChannels.
Yeah,
That's
I love Cycle Camp, man. Keep you on your toes.
For shooters.
Yeah. And the Godfather, G Webs, thanks for doing Every Second Matters. Thanks for having me on that earlier. Sorry I had to jump out a little early, but welcome to the show.
Thanks for the invite.
What we're going to talk about real quick is we're going to kind of extend Every Second Matters just a hair. We're going to talk about a couple different things, and G and the Every Second Matters chat went into a little bit more detail. We're just going to touch on it and make everybody aware that maybe might not have caught that chat. It is about the ATF is looking at changing the definition of machine gun that will include bump fire stocks and other things. But according to the law, they have to give 30 days notice for the public to submit their feelings about that. And they have put out a questionnaire. Basically is what it is. I don't know if the questionnaire is the exact terminology, but I'm going to call it a questionnaire that's going to ask a bunch of different questions in your opinion on bump fire stocks and other items that could be looked into to being regulated. I'm going to put the link out there, and we're going to talk about this here in just a little bit. I'm going to put the link on the GunChannels and on the YouTube side. I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be very important, if for no other reason, to keep our voices heard, to go and check this website out, fill it out, and give all the information that you can. My personal opinion, and I'll go through the room here in a little bit, but my personal opinion is anytime that they look at regulating more and more things through the ATF, it is a scary, slippery slope, because if they're trying to change terminology and take it from, and this is what Clover and G were talking earlier, from a mechanical thing of one trigger pull to one round to rate of fire, now we're talking about a whole slew of things that does not make a weapon fully automatic. It does increase the rate of fire, but we're talking about the definition of a semi-automatic versus a fully automatic of one trigger pull and one bullet, one projectile, one round, whatever the terminology you want to use. If they start, in my opinion, if they start regulating rate of fire, then there are a lot of things that are going to be brought up, including something as simple as a 15-round magazine. Whether people want to believe it or not, a 15-round magazine over an 8-round magazine increases the rate of fire because you're not having to reload as often. So we're talking very, very, very small things and wordage and terminology uses that could change the whole thing. So let's get out there and talk and try to fill this out and let them know what you think about the bump fire stocks or changing anything that has to do with the rate of fire. I'm going to go through the room and let you guys kind of talk a little bit about your Every Second Matters and anything about this terminology the ATF is putting out to the public for the next. I think it comes out to what, January 28th. G, is that the lockdown date?
28th or 25th, I forget.
Okay, it's gonna be either during or right after SHOT Show. So I know that G has been trying to do some stuff with the summit there while we're all at SHOT Show. But I'm gonna let you guys talk a little bit about what you guys think about this terminology. Is this good or bad? Is it anything going to happen because of this, or anything like that? But G, I'll let you start first, since you guys I missed what you guys were talking about at the end of the Every Second Matters chat.
It's going to end on the 25th of January, which is the Thursday at SHOT Show, right?
That's correct.
So yeah, it'll end on Thursday at SHOT Show. Hopefully that's doom on them, because shouldn't most of the industry be in that town for those 3 days preceding it?
That's correct.
Hopefully they'll come together and rally their collective troops and make a battle cry that will long be feared by politicians everywhere.
Yeah. You guys, anybody else have any thoughts on this whole bump fire stock thing? Is this something, and I pose this question in the Every Second Matters chat, is this something to be worried about, or is this something that the ATF is obligated by law to do? If they even look at something, they have to go 30 days out to the public. But is this all a charade? Is this smoke and mirrors to appease the liberal side because of what's happened in Vegas and in Texas and in different places, or is there something to this?
Have they ever done one? Have they ever done one of smoke and mirrors before? Is there any precedence for that?
Not that I know of. That's what I'm saying is and it's like you said earlier in your chat, they don't do anything just to do something. So usually they've got something going on.
Who's pushing it? Who's pushing it? What documentation do they have to show that the bump stock was used and all this kind of stuff?
That's what I'm saying. There has been nothing.
We just heard there was a bunch found. Who's basing their overall? Let's push and get these things, reviewed by the ATF. Who's in charge of that? Who is the human being? And what information do they have that we don't have?
Well, I think we can look at a couple different people as who we think is probably pulling all these strings. Midnight Range TM says maybe they're just casting stones, but those stones can still cause a lot of damage. Absolutely. I want to say hi to Crazy Scotsman. What's up? Insight Freedom. What's going on? If I'm missing you guys, I apologize. I'm not trying to. But no, the answer, Tack, is I don't know the answer to that. I think we can all assume who we think is probably behind it. There's probably a group of 2 or 3 or 4 people out there that are always trying to, no pun intended, pull that trigger on different things. But like you said, there to this day is zero proof or evidence that has been released to the public that says anything is besides what kind of weapons or what kind of ballistics were used from the coroner's report or how many. We don't know any of this information, much less if there is a bump fire stock attached to any of these things. So the answer is I have absolutely no idea.
Yeah, we still don't know how many of the victims of that whole thing were shot versus trampled versus we still have no numbers.
We do have that.
Do we actually have that?
Yeah, the coroner report came out. They were all killed by gunshots. 6 people were killed by multiple gunshots. But yeah, they did finally come out to prove that there was no trampling or anything like that.
What about the 500 injured though?
I didn't see a
point
by point on that.
They're not dead, so
exactly. So I mean, there's obviously going to be other people who were shot and did not die. Therefore, so we still don't have all of those numbers, is what I'm saying. We have the coroner reports on the people who died, but there's 500, who were injured in this whole thing, but how many of them were actually shot versus trampled? Nobody knows.
Yeah, we don't know. And I said this in G's chat earlier, is I don't know if we're ever going to know. And if they do ever release, it's going to be so far down the line that 2 or 3 or 4 other major things, not just shooting, but I'm saying major world events have happened that people are going to have forgotten a little bit about what happened in Vegas, to where we might not ever know the whole story. And I think that's sad, because I think what's going to happen is it's going to be come out to say that bump fire stocks were either not used or whatever. Is going to be something that's going to be against the liberal agenda. And so the liberal media won't put it out there because it's not going to go along with their course of talk.
We have the answer right here in the document itself. It says on it, and this is, I don't know, about a little bit before half the way down it, in the part where it talks about Las Vegas, blah, 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 part 2 here. On October, 58 people and several hundred were wounded in Las Vegas by a shooter firing 1 or more.
Mm-hmm.
So they just told us right here that this is a fact, right? That's what they're saying right there. On October, this happened. This is fact. In 2010, blah, 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 something else happened. Then it goes back to saying following the Las Vegas murders, a significant amount of public attention, ATF receives correspondence from the general public. So what instigated it? This. It says from the general public and members of both houses of Congress.
And the NRA.
Well, I'm not going to say the
Still
NRA
doesn't have the details of what they
this.
shot and who and what weapons and all that kind of stuff. How many rounds were shot, etc.
Yeah,
No,
but they're going ahead and suggesting that here's fact, and here's why, because of that fact, we're going to take action. So
And the NRA
going to take action on this fact.
and the NRA did come out and say that we would like the ATF to take a look at
did.
this.
They did, and the reason why the NRA is probably not going to be in this is the ATF does not want to give a specific organization any more clout or less clout or whatever. But what they are saying right here is there were several AR type machine, not machine guns, what was the exact wordage? AR type rifles. Is that what it said?
Yeah.
And a bump fire stock was mentioned. So I guess that is, and TAC, anybody else in the room, is that the first time that an official government agency has come out and even hinted that is this not just speculation, but there was a bump fire stock actually attached to these AR-15 or AR type rifles?
That's not fact. That's nowhere near a conclusive report.
ATF is putting out in a document.
But they're making law. They're changing their interpretation of federal law based on this sentence.
Yep.
Yeah. And the ATF is a government agency. It is.
They're asking for opinion.
you know.
They're asking for opinion. They're not changing law yet.
Well, no. But what I'm saying is,
No. Summary: the Department of Justice anticipates issuing a notice of proposed rule marking that would interpret the statutory definition to clarify whether blah, blah, blah. Before doing so, the department needs to gather some information. So fill out this survey before we anticipate changing the rules. This isn't like, hey, we got nothing else better to do. Fill out a survey because we're bored. This is the Department of Justice anticipates doing this, and because of the law, we have to ask you.
Yeah. Now, understand. Go ahead.
Can I
Go ahead.
Body for a second? He doesn't
Go
understand
ahead.
three-dimensional chess.
Pardon me? Pardon me?
I'm playing checkers myself. I'm playing Chinese checkers at that. So
We're talking chess at a whole nother level that maybe people on spacecraft can understand.
but my question still stands. According to the ATF's document right here, it is the first time that I've seen that any entity of the government, local, state, or federal, have actually come out and said that there is. I mean, they used besides speculation from the media and saying there could be this. This is the first time I've actually seen someone that actually kind of definitively says that the ATF believes that there were bump fire stocks being used in this. Has anybody else seen anything to the contrary? Guess not.
No.
So that being said, I'm not saying that the ATF is saying that it is. I'm saying the ATF is saying that there very well could have been, and that's why we're doing this. The whole point to this that I'm trying to say is when they start worrying about definitions and changing definitions, well, there might not be any more laws that go through Congress or the Senate as regards to some of this stuff, but the ATF doesn't have to answer to Congress or the Senate necessarily. They have the regulatory rights pointed to by the president and the Department of Justice to do whatever the hell they want to when it comes to the regulations and interpretations of what some of these things say. And like I said, it's not saying I don't think this is going to be changing the definition of what a machine gun is.
Well, how can they? How do you change the definition of a mechanical device? And
that's what I'm saying is, but when they start talking rate of fire, that's a slippery slope. If they start trying to change the wording of rate of fire, that's when everything comes into play, and that's scary.
That's not. They've been doing this forever. What are you talking about? They don't have the same definitions as we did in 1938.
No. But what I'm saying is if they're going to try to take this document and this bump fire stock to change a regulatory thing, are they just going to put a stamp on a bump fire stock and make it like a suppressor that you've got to go and get it serialized and all of that? Is that what they're going to do with it? Or are they going to try to take this and try to change wording for other things? If this is just a one type thing with you had to go get a stamp just like a suppressor, then that's one thing. But if they start talking wording about changing rate of fire and bringing that conversation into machine guns, that's what I'm worried about. But if they're just going to put a stamp on it, I mean, we're not going to be able to stop them anyways. Now we must get the word out there and say, here's what we think, here's what it is, here's what it isn't, here, and all that. So you've got to get out there and fill this questionnaire out, if nothing else, to show the masses numbers sent to them that how we feel. I'm sorry. Someone's getting ready to say something, so go ahead. Maybe not.
So the bottom line is, remember what happened with the 7.6 ammo?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They changed the definition.
Right.
And it's very easy for them to change the definition. And the problem is the bumpfire stocks is not the issue. The bumpfire stocks is a vehicle to allow them to ban anything that alters the rate of fire of a semi-automatic weapon.
That's what I'm worried about more than anything else.
It doesn't have anything to do with the bumpfire, because actually the bumpfire, if you go by the pure definition, the bumpfire stock is clean. It's when you get into stuff like echo triggers. Well, what do you call an operation of the trigger? Is the operation of the trigger just a squeeze, or is the operation of the trigger the squeeze and the release? And if that's the case, one operation emits two bullets, and that obviously is a machine gun.
Yeah, I think once they leave it open to interpretation there, it leaves it that ambiguous. And we know they're good at twisting whatever they write. I know Midnight was saying something. They can write something, mean something, and a couple of years down the line, well, what we really mean now is, that's my thing with it.
This is a typical progressive left strategy. Change the definition to change the talking point.
But we won with the arm brace. Don't you think that has to say something? Because
how do we win with the arm brace?
Reasonable.
They did change their stance where you could shoulder the SIG brace.
Well, we won with the M855, but we didn't win with the 7.6.
Let's not focus in on tunnel vision. The SIG brace, which was a thing that they didn't even start development on until they had talked with the ATF technology branch and were told this is okay, it's not a stock. And then they made it, and then they said, because of the way we wrote our vague laws, if you have a specific question about something, you can't go off of a letter that someone else got. You have to ask us directly if you have intent to do something that has a question. And they wrote a vague law. So they got a bunch of people who obeyed their regulations, and they asked the question, is it okay for me to shoulder this? And then they claimed in 2014, that they claimed that we got so many inquiries about this that we decided we needed to make a ruling. So basically they create a vague law that requires you to ask, and then once they get enough questions to ask, they decide that that's a reason enough to act. They act by changing the law. Now you say we won because they moved it back to where they would have, or it never was. They moved it back to where it's not an issue again, except that now it is an issue because they brought it up. But I don't know where we won on that. I would think it was a win. It would have been a win if there was a massive outcry.
I could go to the range and shoot it and shoulder it and not worry about the ATF. That's where it's a win.
So it's all about you. If it's 100%.
No, it's about me and every other shooter out there. It's me and every other shooter out there. When I say me, I'm talking about anyone that wants to now not worry about that.
You didn't let me finish my sentence. So
go ahead and finish.
So if the SIG brace, which was by reinterpretation, we were told that it remanufactures your firearm to bring it to your shoulder. If there would have been such massive outcry that they changed back in a reaction, I'd agree that there's a win. But when They told us, no, we're going to put this in jackboot of infringement on your neck. And we all went, damn it, and sat there. That wasn't a win. And then they had begrudgingly eventually decided to go the other way because it didn't lay into the
You're talking about a concept that was obviously a workaround to what the SBR is in the first place, correct?
No, I think it complies with vaguely written law.
No, it's not.
If you want to call it a workaround, then that implies connotation.
But
you're saying
in one way,
you're saying when SB
you're doing something against the law. We're complying with the way the law is written.
This is exactly the same situation as the bullet button. This is exactly the same situation as the bullet button in California, right? California wrote a law that said you can't have an attachable magazine. You have to. You can't just be able to detach the mag. And so they put together this bullet button where it required an external device to push the button in order to drop the mag. And everybody made guns based on that because it was their stupid law, and they complied with that law. And when they changed the law, that was okay because law is law. And if you change the law, that's okay. But if you're interpreting existing law and you flip back and forth on the interpretation of the law, that's a problem. We have the same exact problem in Connecticut. We got an interpretation of the law after 2013 that said, even if you're a named assault weapon, if you were produced pre-ban, it was okay to sell that weapon. And we got letters from the special licensing division of the state that said, yep, it's okay to do this. Go ahead and sell them. Well, a new person took over the state licensing division this year, or this past year in 2017. And she says, oh, no, that's not how we're going to interpret the law. We're going to interpret it differently. That kind of crap has to stop.
I totally hear you. I have a quick question going back to the SIG race thing. Though, I mean, they initially made their ruling that said, they made their vague law that made people write in letters and asking them if they could, shoulder their braces. And they said, well, we've gotten so many letters in, we need to make a ruling on this. And the answer is no, you can't, because you're redesigning you're actually redesigning the firearm and you're turning it into a short barrel rifle. So, in my opinion, it was probably the outcry of 2A supporters who sent in letters that got them to reevaluate and take a second look at that initial ruling that now lets us shoulder our braces. I could be wrong, but I mean, why else would they?
I actually don't know.
But the real issue,
but an eventual trickle, an eventuality isn't a win. That's just a happenstance. We got luck of the draw that enough people happened to do it. If there'd have been a determined effort, a call to action, and the result was an overwhelming outcry, and then we have a political victory that, like I keep saying, would then in the future be a reason for the political strategists to think twice about using guns as a punching bag, that would have been a win. When we when we come out successful, but only by circumstance and actually by lack of actual unification, then that's hardly a win. That's even worse, because that's acting like a luck of the draw was somehow planned or somehow we were destined to do it. Then we just walk around thinking we're destined for everything.
We're talking about these ATF guys that write these letters and the different things that they're able to do. And one of the things that they were able to do last year was look at that thing and change it back to the way it should be. We're talking about this year, about them looking at something and saying, based on the information we have, we're going to go through the motions here. But as we're all, again, guessing right now that they're going to put a ban on the bump fire stock. Could they go through the opinion process and possibly have someone show them how fucking ludicrous it is? Or is this no way they're going down the road, they're going to ban this thing? Because
no one ever said
I don't
You're
know
the one
that
with that position. You're the one who in the other chat was saying that we have no hope. I'm the complete opposite.
You misinterpreted me and went and tried to yankify the conversation, which it's not.
I sure did.
I said that there was nothing going to happen in favor this calendar year. If you had let me continue, you'd see that I also said nothing's going to happen against it. It's a stalemate. The numbers in the Senate and the House make it a stalemate. They're not going to get anything through no matter how much you hope in a chat.
I don't have to hope, and I don't intend on sitting here wishing on hope, but I'm happy that you concluded that, because I still don't agree with you that nothing for good can happen. When you talk about Democrats doing nothing, that's when we are observers. When we're an audience watching them do as they please, of
I
course
didn't
they're
say
not going
don't do anything and don't be active. I said if you look at the numbers where the bottom line falls, they're not in the favor of what you're talking about, and you don't like that opinion. That's fine.
No influence. So I'm saying that's in a situation that's in an environment with no influence. I'm suggesting we have a potential to rally troops to provide influence to that.
Okay. And again, in the pre-chat, we talked about the influence that Rosie O'Donnell was trying to throw around in front of everybody, and then wondering how much is being thrown around behind everybody versus us talking about it and hoping that something happens.
Nobody's hoping anything's going to happen here. At least I'm not hoping.
So you're going to go to and change those few senators that are going to sway the table's mind this calendar year?
I'm going to do my best to affect that change. You know it.
Right on. I think we all do, don't we? We all do our best to affect the change and influence the overall picture and tell people daily, weekly, hourly that it's okay to have guns.
I think that the biggest issue right now is, and we've discussed this on not just this point, but in all conservative hot topics that may not even just be guns. When you have a liberal politician out there, and as a group of liberal politicians, they have absolutely zero problem howling at the moon as loud as they can, and with using all means necessary, they try to get their agenda pushed. They also have the media on their side to push. So on the flip side, on our side of anti-gun control bills and all of that, we have to fight even harder, because we're not just fighting a party that has no problem howling to the moon, but they also have the mass media behind them. So I think that this is exactly when we have to push harder. Now, whether or not anything happens or not, good or bad, if we all do our part, then the only thing that can happen is things, if we all do our part, write our congressmen, senators, do all that stuff, take care of the ATF questionnaire, and everyone does all that, and they still decided to go gun control on us, be anti-gun, then the only recourse we have at that point is to try to elect better representatives of ourselves. But I would hope to think that the masses coming out for positive pro-gun legislation is going to be strong. If we have the mentality of, well, crap, there's nothing we can do, well, then it's going to be even easier for them to pass all this stuff. So we've got to get out there and do all that. I don't know. And I kind of understand what you're saying, Tack, is by the numbers, the pure numbers, if you just go down party lines, we do have the numbers by party lines. The problem is we have some very, very moderate Republicans in there that won't necessarily vote down party lines when it comes down to these big votes. So I do believe that it's going to be tough to get the numbers to get share passed. Obviously, HR 38 and all that is natural process is being shelved. We need to bring that back off the shelf. We need to bring share back off the shelf. We need to make sure the ATF understands from the gun community side, we're not telling them anymore they don't already know. They know exactly what the bump fire stock is and what it can do, what it can't do. But the obligation that we have as gun owners and pro-Second Amendment advocates to voice our opinions to the ATF is extremely important. At that point, we've done what we can and hope to God that everything works out in the right way. We don't know that. I do believe what you're saying, though, is it's going to be very, very difficult to pass any pro-gun legislation, especially with midterms coming up. But I also believe it's going to be very difficult for them to pass any gun control bills as well. So I don't know what's going to happen the next year, but it's going to be really, really interesting to see if share gets brought back off the shelf by some of these conservative Republicans when it comes to feel like their seat in the Senate or the House may be up for grabs. Because if they feel like their seat be up for grabs in an election, that might be a really big turning point to try to get some more votes in for the gun community, is if they bring share back off the shelf. That could be huge. I think share is probably the most important legislation out there for the gun community. They're all important, But if we can get Cher brought back in, that opens up a door for a lot of other things.
And it's really too bad that there's a lot of us out here that are voicing that opinion that, you know, we don't think that anything's going to happen good or negative either way, which it kind of sucks because
that's government for you though, man.
It's a reality check on reality versus what you want and versus what the far left wants. I mean, the far left wants to get rid of them all tomorrow.
Can I finish my thought, please?
Go for it.
With, you know, with this president and this Congress now, I mean, I think we would all agree that would be a great freaking time to start taking back ground that has been given up over 100%. The years. You know, it's just that's all. That's where I was going with that.
Yeah, Clovertack is in the house right now, but he was out there on the YouTube side and chat also saying that a couple different things, but he said that you know, let me get down here to where it was. We had to fight for these fights. There's only have to keep, number one, keeping an increase of familiar with the firearms into the American society and fabric. And two, we must keep folks educated, especially the youth. Regardless, I'm going to go on to what he says, regardless of the letter with their name, they all will wheel and deal legislation for most of them is nothing more than a bargaining chip. That, unfortunately, is the reality of politics. And I can sit there and I preach this a lot, that these congressmen and senators are our elected officials. They're our elected representatives. If we're all out there telling our representatives and congressmen and senators what we think and how we want them to vote, and they vote differently, or the votes don't go our way because we do have Republicans that will vote against some of the conservative legislation or vote for some of the liberal legislation, then at that point, it is still on us. It's still our duty to go find other representation. So by no means am I saying don't contact them. This is when we have to. And a bunch of us in this whole room, pretty much everyone in this whole room has been saying this whole time. Now that we do have a Republican president, we have a Republican Senate and a Republican Congress, this is not the time to be apathetic. This is the time we need to be militant more than any time, because we have an opportunity by the numbers, as far as party lines, we have the numbers to take legislation in a swing away from the other side and make it work for us. Problem is there's a lot of Republicans that aren't exactly true conservatives and that aren't maybe necessarily willing to help the cause out. If that's the case, let's go find someone that will. Let's welcome a couple more people into the room. We got Travis P11 and Clover. How you guys doing?
Man, I'm doing all right. Appreciate it. Sorry about joining you late. I appreciate the invite, man.
No worries, man.
All right. Now, man, it's just very confusing, scary times, man. I don't understand. You know, we went into this election with such high hopes, and I don't know. We're just not seeing much of anything happening right now. We definitely can't give up the fight. I can tell you that. We need to stay vigilant as gun advocates and Second Amendment advocates. And I don't know. It's God. I think stuff needs to happen more on a grassroots local level if we want to start implementing any kind of change.
No, our leaders are weak. They're just weak. I mean, that's the bottom line. The Republican leadership should be pushing this stuff, and even if it fails, it and let people know how the senators and congressmen think about this stuff. You know, make them make a stand and put that stuff on the table, especially in 2018. Yeah, where we have midterm elections going on.
But see, that's the problem, though.
At the same time, I apologize.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, at the same time, don't combine two bills, which turn out to be poison pills for each freaking party. Let them stand on their own merit.
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly. I totally agree with that.
I agree 100%. And going back to the midterm election thing, here's the problem that the politics of the world, the major talking points and the major agendas usually don't get brought up in election years, is because no one wants to be put on record, their voting record made public on specific things. They'll talk a big game about this, that, and the other, but when the vote comes out, they'll either not vote or whatever, because they don't want to be on record, especially in an election year. If their seat is the one that's up for election, being put on record on their vote is dangerous business, because that's what it is. Politics is business. And that's the bad thing about it. Is I would much rather sit there and say, if you truly want to be a Republican running on the ticket of the Republican Party and the party agenda, then you should have absolutely zero problem with putting all of these pro-gun legislations out there, and let's get your name voted on, and let's see exactly where you voted. Let's see you on record, what you say. You can say what you want to in a press conference, but until I see your voting record, that's all that matters to me, because I think that there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be disappointed on how the Republican Party will vote if it comes down to a voting record.
Hey, and to be perfectly honest, I'm just
You
at
all
a
right there?
loss here. I'm at a loss here. I don't understand why, when this stuff is going through Congress, when it's going through the Senate, why are these congressmen and senators allowed to not freaking vote on it? To not even put their name down on a yay or a nay. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they should be required to on every freaking thing that goes through. It's their duty, no?
Yeah, and, what it's come to now is when you start talking about all these different bills, and they're going to attach riders here and riders here and all these different things, to where the initial bill, it's the idea that's been brought up has so many different things attached to it, and the original wording has been stripped down to its bare essentials. What most people don't understand is the reason why there's so many things attached to this is for running for office. They want to be able to say that I got something attached to this bill. That guy, who was it from? What's it say, from Maryland, or where was that guy from? And in the Congressional Judiciary Committee hearing that brought up 13 different amendments to HR 38. All he was trying to do is get something attached to this thing so he can go back to his constituents and say, see, I did my part. I try to fight this. I try to get this attached to it. You're also talking about big money. And when it starts talking about these different bills, you're going to start seeing those little attachments and riders attached to it. What that does is that brings a little bit of congressional federal money to that state. So now these congressmen and senators can go back home and say, look, sorry about that, but I tried to get some revenue and some federal jobs and all that come back to our state. That's all they're trying to do is to look good for re-election. I don't think anybody's out there anymore. I would say anybody. I would say the vast majority of congressmen and senators up there are no longer talking party lines. They're no longer talking about what they truly believe. It's what's going to get them re-elected, because re-election means a lot of money. That's where we are in the political scene, and that might be a pessimistic outview on it, but I think it's more of a realist outlook on where our political system is right now. Clover, what are your thoughts on this? Clover might not be with us. He's in the room.
I just gotta unmute. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I agree with what Travis said. Obviously, I mean, we have to fight immediate fights, but I tend to look at more of a long ball game, especially since I think that we really have some conservative generations in our wake. And I think it's important that we keep firearms, like I said out there in the chat, as part of society, be it, in video games, which I totally despise, but for a total, that's for a different reason. But whether it's in video games or like we talked about, bullet-shaped ice cubes or Glock grip coffee mugs or whatever, I think that it's been a part of this country, and it needs to stay that way. And then we need to work on the education, which is, as content creators, be it Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, creators and influencers, getting out there and not just entertaining. I mean, there's a lot of folks that go out and they entertain, and then not just talking about Second Amendment issues, and not just doing reviews and going through a bunch of technical jargon, but just simple education and simple awareness sometimes can help bring people. There's a lot of people that are, when you're talking about pro-gun and anti-gun, there's a lot of people, and call them buds or whatever you want to, that are in the middle. And the goal should be to educate and continually shift that middle part over to the extremely pro Second Amendment side of things, and I think we have to fight the legislations, and especially all the anti-firearm legislation that's out there. But I mean, until we get things back to the way they were 30 years ago or so, as far as society and society's perception on firearms and that sort of thing. I don't know. I don't think that we could do what I think it was Hottie was talking about, where we actually, instead of fighting anti-gun, we are pushing for pro-gun legislation.
Yeah.
Trey,
I just don't see the momentum.
What?
What's up, Zach?
on that note, if anyone wants to just have some basic ammo, so to speak, to share socially and or with their friends via even email, over on getzone.com, there's a recent series by Ruger and Funker Tactical with Daniel Shaw, and I think it'll open your eyes. There are several people who shot guns for the first time, and it talks to them before, during, and after. And the series is pretty awesome. So take a look at that if you get a chance, but it's definitely something to share.
Do you have a link that you maybe put the side chat and I can put out there?
It's getzone.com. I'm on my phone. Sorry.
Okay.
My
Here you
hands
go.
are tied up.
Getzoned.com.
Zone. Z-O-N-E. G-E-T-Z-O-N-E.
Okay. Getzone.com. There you go, guys. Put this on the gun channel side as well. And all of that. Yeah, I will. What in the world? Okay. I will say that I do agree 100% with Clover and Travis that it needs to start at the local, state level before we can even try to fix the federal level, because that's going to take a long time. But what you can do is start from the inside on the local and state level, your state rifle association, or whatever you guys want to call them, your state associations, your state legislators, your governor, and all of that, to where maybe, and there's a big discussion going on in the lobby chat that I brought up, and some of us were talking about the senators. The senators were never supposed to be an elected office. They were supposed to represent the state legislator side picked by the state legislation. It has changed over time. And I think that has taken some of the power away from the state legislation. And that's a sad thing, because I think that maybe the climate and maybe the makeup of some of the lawmakers in Washington would be different if that was still the case. That being said, the state legislators still have an important task. We're talking about, we'll just take concealed carry. That's a state by state thing. So just because the federal level is trying to pass HR 38, excuse me, for national reciprocity, there is no reason why state by state that you shouldn't be completely hounding your representatives at the state level for constitutional carry, for open carry, whatever it may be, that the state level still do have a lot of power when it comes to gun control or being pro-gun. So make sure that you're hounding out there. Make sure that your state or local associations are doing the right thing. I think where a lot of us get mixed up, and you guys can answer this also, because you're different states. I can tell you what my state association. I've had a little run around with them in the last few months, because they make it now they are an affiliate arm of the NRA. So they do make it to where you have to be a member of the NRA to be a part of the Arkansas Rifle and Pistol Association, which I told them I think is absurd, because they're missing on a lot of people that might want to be able to help and do some good, that just might not believe in the ways of the NRA at the time. They came back and said, sorry, that's just the way it is, and basically in layman's terms. So there are ways that you're going to have to find some struggles in there, but hopefully that your state associations are pushing for the right agendas. They are trying to be helpful instead of be a deterrent, unlike my state. I think my state is actually trying to keep it a good old boys club instead of actually helping the cause. But you guys can talk about your own state levels. I don't know. I know that, G, you're involved with the, what is it in Arizona that you guys you work with?
Arizona Citizens Defense League.
Yes. How is that? I know you've mentioned a couple different things that they do, but you've also said that they're maybe not always as vigilant as they could be. Or maybe not as organized as they could be or something.
I've never said they're not vigilant. They're the epitome.
Okay.
They should be.
Well, I might have misunderstood. That's why I'm giving you the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, organized. They are. I am always amazed how effective they can be, but I can't scorn them. They've been ultimately effective.
Right.
So it can be frustrating that it's not, as polished as those of us who use the internet daily. But,
Yeah. How about you guys, South Carolina and Illinois? Grim, I would love to hear your thoughts. I was talking with someone, and it might have been you, but I was talking with someone about Illinois saying that the majority of Illinois is probably more pro-gun, but because most of the population is in Chicago, and that's being a very liberal city, that sometimes that's hurting the rest of the state. Do y'all have like a state association up there?
Yeah, we have the Illinois Rifle Association, Illinois. But yeah, most of it is everything out of Chicago, Cook County, basically. I mean, they passed, you can't have a range, that whole thing that was going on within a couple thousand feet of, any school or church. But no, they, like we were talking in the before chat, you got a lot of those that they're more than happy to just wait for someone else to come, and they're more than happy to ban, like Cook County, technically now you can't have anything over 10 rounds.
Right.
And all that, that large population and everything near, even everything outside of, you got everything from Lake Forest, which is, upper, going that whole lakefront side, but the rest of the state is basic pro-gun. I mean, for the most part, but the squeaky wheel, back to that squeaky wheel. That's why I don't like the legislation that is wishy-washy, left open to interpretation like they do here in Cook County. They'll word it vaguely. It doesn't sound bad, but it depends who's interpreting it. I mean, I keep bothering. I found, ran into a local person that's on the state Senate here, and I think every time they see me now, I think they want to run the other way. Well, I've become more vocal, partially being more involved, and then here, with you guys too. But yeah, I mean, it's, they're more than comfortable, to just not have them. Oh, well, they're dangerous. No, people are dangerous. It's the tool. It's a tool. Yeah, they're the same way here. Are the local like towns also. Aurora does the same thing. Aurora passed some mag laws. What, about a year ago? Same thing. 10 rounds. High capacity, so to speak. Anything over 10 rounds is high capacity now.
Yeah.
So
let me get me started on that. Now, Psycho Camp out there is he just made a mention out there that he misses his Democratic representative that was told to a supporter she retired. Now, Psycho Camp, I know that you have and plan on doing. You actually get really involved at the state level with testifying and all of that stuff. So exactly, I know that you're in a crazy area as far as I'm not going to say anti-guns. I agree with what you said earlier. No one's anti-gun. They're just anti-citizens having guns. I think everyone will say that they want the military to have guns. So, but as far as you're living in Connecticut, where it's definitely a liberal area, but you spend a lot of time helping for the cause, testifying and all that. Help people explain, understand what all you've been doing the last year and plan on doing in 2018 as far as testifying in front of the Congress and all that.
Yeah, so a lot of times, they'll have the public comment section on any particular bill that they're trying to pass, and there's several things you can do. Like there's email testimony you can file, which does become public record, so you have to remember that it's public record. And a lot of times, I mean, I'll go to the state capitol and I'll wait 10 and a half hours for 3 minutes worth of testimony. I get away with that because I'm retired now, but
Like, how long would you be out there actually speaking to Congress when you're up there? You're waiting 3 hours for, is it like 5 minutes, 20 minutes, or how long?
Yeah, 3 minutes.
Okay. So you got to get your stuff in as quickly as you can. So obviously you're probably working on that testimony and all that while you're waiting.
Well, so typically what I do
helped a lot. I mean, have you seen anything happen because of that, or is it, you know?
Oh yeah, it makes the big deal is the show of force. If you my Connecticut Citizens Defense League, when you go to a hearing and you see row after row after row of people with CCDL T-shirts, hats, buttons, you kind of know which way is going. Of course, right next to us is the Mothers Demand Action and all that other stuff. But the bottom line is, what I will do is I will make a very succinct email submission, which becomes part of the record. And then when I go to the hearing, I will listen to what the other side says, and I will make notes of the things they say that are lies or mistruths or those kind of things. And I say, hey, I've already submitted testimony. I'm not going to speak to that. Let me instead speak to this other stuff. And that seems to make a big difference.
Absolutely.
That's commendable, Cycle.
That's awesome. Yeah, that is awesome. And like you said, you're retired, you have time. But if you see one of these public sessions coming up on a bill that's the state level that's coming up, and you have an opportunity to go do that, I'm going to try to do a point of doing that at least a couple times this year if there's stuff coming up. This session right now we're in is not going to be a legislative session. It's a budgetary session. So I have to wait till next year for the actual legislation session to come into play. But when it does happen, I'm going to try to do that because I think that's awesome. Now, Clover, I know that you're a regional director for the Texas State Rifle Association. How is that association in comparison to other? I know there are other things in Texas going on as far as organizations and all of that, but the TSRA is a pretty good one. So explain what they have done and what you do as a regional director as well.
Yeah, the TSRA has done a lot to move the ball forward. I mean, Texas. People look at Texas and they automatically think red. And there's a couple of things that you have to keep in mind with Texas is I can easily remember in my lifetime when Texas was not red. I lost my train of thought there. Oh, and with the influx from Katrina that you had into Houston and those areas, and then with immigration, and then with the recession in the economy. Texas was mainly because of the farming and the ranching and the oil. I mean, let's be honest.
The oil was
the drilling, I should say. Yeah, just the resources
pretty big.
Just the resources here in Texas. It made it a good economy here in Texas. Even that kind of led the country through the recession. So as that was going on, you got the influx of a lot of people from the tech sector and a lot of other places that moved in from other parts of the country here. And unfortunately, they come here and they bring their liberal ideas and whatnot with them. So I mean, we've got a situation now where some of the major cities, Austin in particular, is extremely liberal. That city and even the county there. So, we've still got battles that need to be fought. Now, as far as the TSRA, I kind of got to touch on what G was talking about with Arizona there, in that the TSRA it gets stuff done. There's basically one legislative lobby, and she is an absolute firecracker. She's been doing it for many, many years, and does a great job. And we have went from having really no type of carry at all to concealed carry to now licensed to carry, and then constitutional carry is, that's the end game, and the goal is to get that back. And I use that wording carefully, get that back, because we should have it to start with. And I think that it's going to happen. I mean, nothing's taken away overnight, just like we're talking about with the senators and the 17th Amendment and all of these other things that have come into play, from NFA to Gun Control Act to whatever. None of that happened overnight. So it's going to take time to walk all of that that stuff back. But the TSRA is doing a good job. Now, one thing I would say about the TSRA, like I said, Echo and G a little bit, is they seem a bit unorganized, and as far as their fundraising capabilities, because it costs money. It costs money to have a main office. It costs money to have internet and send out material and flyers and all of these other things. And so that's where your members come into play, and member outreach and trying to get more people involved at the level of actually paying money to help push that forward. And unfortunately, as you win more and more battles, it seems like apathy sets in and you receive less and less support. And that's honestly, I think that right now here in Texas, that's kind of where we're sitting. I mean, the TSRA is in an organizational budgetary type issue, and it's because now we've got license to carry. You can open, or you got to go get the license, but you can carry open or concealed. That was a pretty big win, and there's really nobody here is really going after anything, so apathy set in. So people are letting their memberships lapse, and they're not showing up to the various tournaments and paying the fees to enter. And because the TSA does a lot more than just legislative, like most organizations out there, including the NRA, of course, they've got their educational arm and their charitable arm and their competition arm and everything else. And ultimately, a lot of the fees and money raised in some of those other arms goes back into administration, because somebody has to keep that running and organized and all of that stuff. So, overall, I mean, I would still give them here. I would still probably give them an A rating. I mean, they're definitely not, A plus, but I would give them probably an A rating. That's starting to drop off. Who knows in the next year where it may be, but I think there's an A rating for what they're doing here in Texas anyway.
Yeah. We've got an interesting kind of a thing happening in Arkansas where we have Governor Hutchinson, who is seemingly been very pro-gun for most of his life. He used to be a spokesman for the NRA. He is being it's interesting. I'm sure you guys have heard of Jan Morgan. Does a lot of commentary for Fox News, and she's very, very outspoken pro-gun person. She is actually going to be running against the current governor, sitting governor, incumbent governor, who's a Republican, in the primary. And she has come out recently in the state of Arkansas. Jan is from Arkansas, by the way. She has come out and said that he has been very, very soft on guns by allowing constitutional carry to go away and to then go to be a shall issue state. I've been here for 15 years. When I first got here, it was a constitutional carry state, and it lapsed. It went into shall issue. But what's happening now is a few years ago, there was a law passed about open carry. And in Arkansas, it has been an interesting several years as far as the interpretation of, is open carry allowed in Arkansas? We've had our attorney general who has come out and made a ruling, an interpretation that it is okay for open carry, but yet still people were getting either harassed and or detained / arrested for open carry. Last week, I want to say it was Thursday or Friday, the governor, and I think that Jan Morgan, I don't know if she's actually serious about running for governor. If she is, phenomenal. If she isn't, okay. But I think what she's trying to do is push Governor Hutchinson back on to the right track. And what has happened in the last week is he actually sent a letter to the director of the state police that says that no Arkansas citizen shall be harassed, detained, or arrested for open carry on its own. Now, if they're being detained or arrested for something else, that's one thing, but they cannot be detained or harassed or arrested for open carry, which I think is a huge thing, because we've had the attorney general come out and state the same thing with the governor. So I think things are starting to maybe turn the right way. And like I said, I don't know if Jan Morgan's going to actually take it for seriously running for governor, or if she's just using this to kind of push Governor Hutchinson back on track. But I can tell you that the last 2 times that constitutional carry has come back up in legislation, it has failed miserably. I'm hoping that the next legislative session will they always bring it up every time, and I'm hoping constitutional carry and hopefully I'll be able to get some people and maybe we can get enough of us to help the constitutional carry get back. And like I said, it's what you said, Clover, is it's really weird that it's supposed to be our right and it's been taken, and that it's weird that we're having to fight to get our rights back. So that's a whole different ordeal that I ever thought it would. But I'm sure at every state. Travis, what about Nebraska? How are you guys doing up there?
Well, Travis bailed.
Oh, he bailed. Okay, he's probably going to go over to see Night Strike stuff. Tack, what about Florida?
We got Sean Coranda in the Florida concealed carry. He takes care of business.
Yeah. Hottie, what about Washington? Anything going on up there as far as state organizations or anything?
Honestly, I can't speak too much on state organizations. At this point in time, I'm not as involved as I need to be. I know this year is going to be a big one. It's time to get involved with those grassroots organizations. We have an AG who's determined to pass some form of assault weapons ban that every time he tries, it gets shot down, doesn't even make it out of committee, but he's already, come out and said that this year that's one of his main goals is to get that thing passed and get that thing through. So yeah, I mean,
I think it's dangerous when an attorney general is starting to dictate legislation to the representatives. That's a scary thing. Instead of interpreting the law, he acts like he's got his own agenda. So it sounds like he might be running for governor one day. Is what it sounds like to me.
Very true.
Ellis, what about South Carolina, my man?
As far as actual gun right advocacy groups, me and Night Strike went through hell back during the conventions, the rallies, trying to get people together. And everything we came across was either closed, no working phone numbers, no working emails. And we've actually discussed between us figuring out a way to start one up on our own. So that's what we got here.
Jared out there is my hype man. I love you, Jared. Thanks, guys. I'm going to go ahead and I know that Night Strike's getting ready to start hit or miss. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one. I got a thumbs down. That's awesome. I love it. Thank you for watching and give me a thumbs down. Appreciate you. Man, we've got 49 still watching. So while we're at our a good number for us right now, I would sit there and say we're going to run it through the room real quick. And as soon as I see the live button from Night Strike, you might already come through. I just didn't see it, but we're going to head over to Hit or Miss and watch it. It's on Night Strike 1 is the YouTube channel. On the Gun Channel sides, it's Hit - Miss, I believe. Hit or Miss. You guys all know about it over there. But let's kind of run through the room real quick. We didn't get to a couple other things I wanted to get to, but that's the beautiful thing about this is it is every second matters on the second of each month. So it's to my thing is it's much more important to talk this stuff. We can talk about channels and resolutions at a different time.
Revolutions too.
We can talk about revolutions if you want, but no, this was what's that?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. But I want to go ahead and go through the room real quick, let you plug what you need to plug, talk about anything you want to talk about. We've got a few minutes, so I mean, don't just rush in through and say whatever. Say what you want to say. We'll start with Clover. Go ahead, Clover.
Well, I want to hit real quick on something Hottie was saying that brought something to my attention, and that'll be my closing remark. But we tend to focus on when pro stuff, gets passed, and I use that term pro stuff very loosely because we're winning back things we should have had to start with. But we tend to praise congressmen and I'll call this congressman about shutting this down or getting this passed when stuff hits the floor and all this, and then once it's over with, I mean, a lot of times there's no communication unless something's going on. And so like Hottie says, when there's a couple of things. Failure tends to breed success, so you got to be really careful. These people that are pushing these anti-bills through just one after another, and it's the same regurgitated garbage. Make no mistake, they're tweaking it a little bit every time. They're tweaking. They're learning from what went on in committee and this sort of thing. They're learning from the makeup and the composition of that committee, how they need to word this legislation and other things to try to sneak that stuff through. So don't think that they're not playing that game. So when a committee, even something, goes south in a committee and it gets voted down and it doesn't even make it to the floor, some type of anti-legislation, then, contact that if you have a congressman that's on that committee, contact them and say, hey, thank you for standing up for that and making sure that garbage didn't make it to the floor. We appreciate that, and make sure that, instead of, only praising them when the governor signs something, which most people tend to do, make sure that you give them credit for knocking that stuff out of the park before it's ever an issue.
I'm just going to add one quick thing to that. And if you have ones that are in committee and they're on the wrong side of things, make sure they know that you feel that they're on the wrong side of things.
Absolutely.
I want to give, it sounds like Locks, Rocks, and Whatnots might be heading out. He just said, thanks for hosting this important discussion. Carry on, and thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Locks, for tuning in. This has been a really good chat. It's a lot of stuff that we can talk about, good or bad, but it was a really good chat. So let's carry on. And thanks, Clover. I appreciate you very much. Cycle Camp, what you got going on, man?
Sorry, I had to unmute the mic. One of the things I want to say is if you have a local representative, you should not be talking to your local rep just when there's gun stuff on the table. My local rep had an event, just a meet and greet pizza thing. Go to those events. My local rep had an event where he was ringing the bell for the Salvation Army bucket. Go to those events. The more they see you, the better. So you become a normal person in their eyes and not just some friggin' gun nut that's only there when something happens that you're upset about guns. Make sure they understand that you're a regular part of the community. And that you support them in more than just, the gun related events.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
don't be a one trick pony.
Having me on here.
No, Bill, I really appreciate you having on because you always bring a really good insight, and like I said, you do a lot. That you do a lot more than most of us. I'd say the vast majority of us. Most of us don't have the time, nor even if we had the time, may not have made that step to spend days after days after days going down and sharing your voice with the state Congress and legislation and all that. That's awesome. I think that can inspire. Hearing you say that inspires me, and hopefully it inspires a lot more people to take that opportunity to do such things. So thank you for stopping by. Grim, what you got? Anything going on? School starts here pretty soon, doesn't it?
Tomorrow for some, not for us, but tomorrow for some.
It actually starts tomorrow for I am as well.
Yeah. Biggest thing, same thing we've been talking about in this chat here. You guys don't become complacent. I mean, everybody can do their part. If you're not a creator, speak up in the chat, send your messages, even that quick little email. You don't have to write anything extravagant. It's kind of like at the school when we ask for feedback. We get 400 or 500 pieces of paper. Kind of skimming over most of them. Like, oh man, this is between a few people. But get out there. Whatever it may be, just don't become complacent. Don't think that we're now we have Trump, whoever is in, no, now we have to push harder than ever. We have to be that squeaky wheel now.
That's a really good analogy. I like that.
Yep. So last thing, support your creators out there, you guys. Subscribe to them, like, share, help them out, shout outs, etc. And thanks again for having me on.
Thanks, Grant. I appreciate it. Always love having you on. G-Webs, what you got?
I feel like there's all kinds of great ideas in this chat tonight, but then I also feel like it's a shame that Night Strike is making it end. Like he's requiring it to end. That's
Well, he's not required to end. I feel bad. I feel bad and stepping on his toes. I'm the new guy, so I don't want to step on the veterans' toes. So it's all good now. But I really have enjoyed this, and I'm assuming that Night Strike is going to continue the Every Second Matters talk tonight as well. So let's hope that he's got some different points on his show as well. I don't want to monopolize the Every Second Matters, but no. You do have Daily Gun Show tonight at midnight Eastern, correct?
Well, I don't want to just be shilling my own stuff here. So, have you gone to Tech yet? Tech is been on YouTube for a long, long time now, and he's a regular guy doing his dad thing, sharing his stuff like cars and other things he does in Florida out there, just the weather and hanging out, doing your things with your family. And then, he's into guns. So,
what's a gun?
He's been doing a live show on the regular weekly for years
now.
Yeah,
Thursday night. Absolutely.
Appreciate the invite.
And on that note, let's go to Tech.
I'll shield G for him.
There you go.
Check out gun websites, buy a deck of cards, get some patches, support the effort, and
absolutely
support everybody else as you can. I know a bunch of guys do Patreon, some other things, et cetera, et cetera. But I like what Bill had to say. Bill, you're a fresh voice in my world right now, so thank you very much. And same with Trey and who else was talking? Grim, I've talked to for a while. Outlaw's new, and
Clover was over there.
The other Travis.
Yeah, Travis P11, yeah.
But anyway, appreciate all you guys, and I hope everyone has a great year. At the same time, fight the fight, the best way you can personally.
That's right. Gun News Weekly is Thursday night, correct?
Thursday night, 9 p.m. Appreciate everybody tuning in. We watch stuff. We talk about gun stuff.
It's good stuff. I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on, Tech. Appreciate it. Hatfield, what's going on, Alice? You got anything going on about your show Thursday night?
Yeah, I got a show tomorrow night or Thursday night. My schedule at work's changing, which means my schedule on YouTube is going to be changing, and I'm not real sure what's going on there as of yet. Okay. As soon as I do, I will let folks know.
Yeah, let us know as soon as you find something out. As of right now, but Thursday night is still good for this week, correct?
Yeah. I'll have one Thursday night.
All right. Hottie, what's going on? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Seiji.
Bob said you can just show up whenever you want.
He might not even show. Be an hour late and just call it what it is. Has Bob left
never on time
up there? Has he left yet, G?
Bob won't ever the United States again. No, that's never gonna happen.
Oh well. He likes his Anne Murray and Gordon Lightfoot and Bare Naked Ladies and Rush, I guess. So he's gonna stay up there with his maple syrup and polar bears. So.
We got Trump now. Hashtag vetting. He ain't coming back.
He's building that wall on the northern border, isn't he?
Enhanced vetting. He's never getting over that one.
The ice wall.
The ice wall.
The ice wall. I'm not even good. Let's not go back down to the flat earth thing. Hottie, what you got going on?
Hey man, just thank you for the invite. Just good show. It was a great show. Especially tonight. I think we had a great conversation going. I don't have anything to plug at the moment. Not the self-promoting 2-bit content creator type. So
you do what we can.
Daily Gun Show tonight coming up at 9 p.m. Pacific time, 12 Eastern. Other than that, GunChannels.com. Got a good community of folks over there. You don't have to be a content creator to join. Just, hop in head first and jump in on some of the conversations.
Right on. On that note, like I said, be vigilant out there. I spent today at my local gun shop with Every Second Matters and filming some video and hanging out with the guys. They were busy today, so it was really cool to see had a girl come in and bought her first gun while I was there. And I wish Travis was here because she got like the pink sky, I believe. I think it was the pink sky.
You let her do that to
What?
yourself.
Lap it out of her.
Here's my thing is that's the gun that she came in and specifically asked for. I don't work there. I'm not going to step on Ben and those guys' toes trying to make a sale. On top of that, that's not my job is not to talk her out of buying a gun. I think the best thing to do is let her buy that Sky, understand what it is and the problems, so that the next gun that she buys, she has seen the bad side of firearms, that she can make a better one. But the last thing I wanted to do was tell her not to buy that, because she might not buy anything, because she specifically came in and asked for a pink Sky. So I apologize for not stopping her, but I thought it was the best thing to do at the time.
You could have gently steered her. But I do understand your point 100%. If that's what she wanted,
when you're at a local gun shop, any sale's a big sale, especially for guns, because they don't make a whole lot of markup on guns. So
and if that's
I wasn't going to screw him.
That's what you came in wanting. I mean, the girl wants what she wants,
Any gun is better than no gun.
That is correct. I saw that up there. That's a good one. Yeah, I know that I'm going to get some flack on that, but I wish I want to have to go over there on hit or miss and I forgot to tell Travis that, because he would have appreciated that one. But no, we had a big night tonight. We had a bunch of people here. We were well over 50 at one point, so that's easily my biggest show of the night. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. I want to thank the entire panel. Here's the thing is just because I'm sorry.
That's my line.
Okay, shut up. Here's the thing. I'm just kidding. Just because we don't always agree on every little point doesn't mean that we don't agree on the vast majority of things. And having discussions like tonight, because everyone brings a different point of view on one particular issue. I love that, because that's the way that we are as a community. We're all not going to agree on everything, but I think we all are going to agree on the big picture. Now, how we get to that point is going to be different. And I loved having everybody on here talking about their different opinions. So I want to thank everybody who showed up on the Gun Channel side and on the YouTube side, and especially thank you to all the guys who were on the panel with me. I've enjoyed it. Happy Every Second Matters. Go do something. Go shop local. Even if it's not guns, you can buy your targets, you can buy your holsters, you can buy your cleaning supplies, you can buy all sorts of stuff at a gun shop, your local gun shop that they understand that prices online for guns are going to be a little better, but there are a lot of things you can do to support your local gun shop. So get out there and do that as much as you can. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you. We will see you next Tuesday night on Tactical Tuesday. Semper Fi.